Hi, my name's Adam Cox. I'm the founder and managing director of the Relations Group and also managing director of Radio Relations, the UK's radio PR specialists. One of the questions that quite often I get asked is how can I get messages communicated to my audience if one, I don't have a spokesperson, and two, I would like to deliver a more commercial message. So the answer to number one, if you do not have a spokesperson, one of the most effective ways of delivering content is either through a feature that someone else creates or an ambassador, a secondary spokesperson. So that there are two ways to kind of tap into that, and we can always make recommendations on spokespeople or how to create feature content that then delivers your messages. The other way that you can do that is to actually give radio presenters the type of content that enables them to deliver their message on your behalf. So if you have, for example, a sample or a prize that is then given to a radio presenter with complimentary copy that is editorially justifiable based on Ofcom regulations, then what you find is that the radio presenter will then communicate those messages in a very engaging way, making the product or prize really appealing to connect the whole story with their audience. Ofcom requires editorial justification, and we can give them that so that not only are they talking about the product, but in a way that makes it part of their natural conversation. It sounds like there's a conversation taking place between them and the audience. The second question is, how do you deliver a message which is more commercial, based around a product? And I'll give you a couple of examples. We worked with Lucozade, and they had a cherry flavour of Lucozade. Now, trying to deliver that message through a spokesperson when the key message is simply a new flavour wouldn't really have worked if you just had a survey or a spokesperson in a studio. But giving radio presenters a whole summer supply of cherry Lucozade that they can give away to an audience member as a prize is an appealing prize for those people that would naturally be interested in cherry Lucozade. Obviously it tapped into kind of sports and energy, so we use that as the editorial justification. Summer as a time where there's lots of kind of active things that people tend to do. But by giving away cherry Lucozade as a prize, the audience at the end of that now knows that Lucozade gives you more energy and that it's available in a cherry flavour, and that is communicated from someone that they trust in a conversational way, in an appealing way, where it feels to the audience that there has been endorsement of that particular product. You know, a second example would be a campaign that we did with Burger King, and Burger King they were a sponsor of the World Cup, and they had signed footballs and signed England football shirts that then delivered the fact that Burger King were a sponsor of the World Cup. Now, if it's going through the prize and you've got £50 to spend in Burger King, that's going to be way more commercial messages than could ever be delivered in an editorial interview, where a BBC radio station normally will only offer one brand mention, and even commercial radio stations, it needs to be more about the story than the product. Whereas through a prize, typically you can get more brand mentions and more overt commercial messaging, so long as it still has editorial justification. So timing is key when you develop those kind of strategies. So the other thing is, you tend to get more brand mentions anyway. As I said, radio interviews typically, you know, it's a good interview if you can naturally get across 3 or 4 brand mentions within the space of an interview. Through an editorial competition, they have to mention it many times. They will introduce later in the show, it's called a teaser or a trail, they will introduce that later on in the show you've got a chance to win, you know, this prize, like a year's supply of Ben & Jerry's, for example. Then they will actually do the competition, so they have to explain what the prize is, why people should enter. They will quite often read copy or have something around it, and then they have the winner. You know, I think the record that we've heard within one breakfast show was 23 different brand mentions for one brand over the space of a 3-hour breakfast show, simply because they had a combination of a sample for radio presenters to actually experience on air along with a prize. So the answer to the question of how do you get messages out there if you don't have a spokesperson or you have a more commercial message, I would say really consider giving content to radio presenters, and that content could be a sample or a prize, and get them to deliver your message on your behalf rather than attempting to find someone to do it for you. For more information on editorial competitions, features or samples, and how to secure radio coverage, please visit radiorelations.co.uk or call us in the office on 0207 158 0000.